welcome everybody. This is the second of three parts, and it really is about information sharing for judging in a first Lego League competition. The focus is going to be challenge for this session. Last week we explained the project, and from the explore perspective of reviewing the project, and from the challenge. So the explores for your grades 1, 2, and 3, and your challenges for grade 4 to grade 10. And so what we're going to do today is, we've got, and I'm really thanking Casper for stepping in and for Almarie stepping in. Casper has judged, Casper has refereed as well, but he has also judged technical for quite a few competitions already. And so he is going to give an overview of technical judging with specific reference to the current theme, which is Masterpiece. And then Almarie is going to give an overview of core values. There have been major changes in how we judge core values, and Almarie has been part of every single phase, and only to get to the greater good for the teams. Kind of really ensuring that they do have core values and they can work as a team and they're growing as a team. So I know Almarie has gleaned all her years of core values knowledge, and she's going to present that to us. But I think let's then start with Casper. Casper is going to give us an overview of how then does the technical judging happen in terms of robot design and programming. And Casper, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Haas. So welcome everybody again. So the robot technical judging is a very important part about this entire process, because it is a robotics competition, so we need to judge their robots. So usually when this happens is, I just want to find now, here we go. So usually, as we explained last week, is when you come into the session, we have the innovation project, then we have the 5 minutes of Q&A with the innovation project judges, where they ask the questions. Right after that, we have the robot design. So the robot design is just a small 5-minute presentation that the teams give us to show what have they learned with the robot, how have they improved from a beginner robot to a robot that they have right now, and what kind of strategies that they have to do any of the missions or build any of the attachments. So these are the things that they explain to us, and the process of how they came to decisions and how they worked as a team to get to these decisions. And then after the 5 minutes of robot explanation, we have the 5 minutes where we now ask questions to them, and if we couldn't understand, or if some things were not clarified to us of the robot design. So if we go to the robot design rubric, we have the following. It's split up into 5 areas: they identify, design, create, iterate, and communicate. So usually the first 2, identify, they talk to the strategy of the team, the strategy in the missions, and also the coding skills of the team members. So usually what happens is here, we ask them now, what was your strategy in building your robot and programming your robot? And usually the first thing the teams will say is, this person did this person did that. And not all of the team members were involved, and not all of the team members are able to code and also program. So it's or do some of the building, because usually they keep it for only a few select people to use those specific tasks. So when asking the strategy, usually we'll also get the skills, and for the next question on building and coding skills, you will easily see what is the difference between the team members, because you can see how they react to certain questions which you ask them specifically on strategy and coding. And then we also just mark them to see if their strategy was not very clear and they don't communicate it very clearly to us, and if their documentation was not clearly, we try and get it partially. It's only if there is no strategy, a mission strategy, that we have to mark it unclear. But if they conveyed their message of how they use the strategy and how they made everything correct, then we give a clear. And even if we only go here in the exceed area, if the strategy is above and beyond, that means they started with a plan. They worked out all the kinks in that plan, and now they have a final plan and a final strategy to show us how they progressed through the entire process of identifying missions, coding the robot and building the robot, and working as a team on that specific areas. And that's why it's called identifying. And yeah, okay. The next area that we have also on the rubric is now the design area. So here is now again effective plan. So here comes now the position of how effective was their plan. The plan that they started with, did it work or did it not work? Did they improve on their plan during the process? Or did they just say, nope, we didn't have any plan. We just wanted to score as many missions as we could, and we wanted to do it under a certain amount of time. That was the only plan we had. So if they only show us, and also here, on this specific area, is the evidence. So only way we can mark this area also is if they show us the evidence of their plan. So like I said in a previous question here, if they show us what was in the beginning of the season, what was their plan and how their plan is at present, we can see there's evidence of the progression. So thus we can give them, if they show us that evidence, we can say, okay, you had an effective plan, it was executed well, and you showed us how you progressed through the entire period. And the next area is robot and the code features. So this part is where the team needs to just explain one small piece of code. So only one mission. They can even explain the mission from going from the one base to another base. So specifically with the masterpiece, because we have two starting points, they can just explain to us how the coding works from point A to point B. And if they try to do not just normal programming, if they try to do Python programming, or if they even discovered another type of programming that their robot can do. And if they explain it very clearly to us as the judges, we can mark them as clear. And also, it helps them verbalize every single part of their programming languages that they are learning. Are there any questions so far?
I think also, Casper, it's really important that when the learners are coming in, that they are happy to talk with the judges. And so also as part of their training in the class, they should be encouraged to discuss how they're building the robot, exactly as you're explaining. But in the class, they can kind of start preparing to talk with the teachers. If they can explain to the teachers, they can explain to you as the judge. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And also, yeah, that explanation is sometimes most of the teams, they forget to do that small explanation, and that can cost them a lot of marks of these two. Okay. Then I think we can continue we only have 3 more areas to go, so I'll quickly just go through them. So here is an explanation of the robot and its attachments and the sensors that they have on the robot. So this part is where they explain, we started with a Riley rover, we progressed to a Core 3, and now we built our own robot. That's the explanation of the progression of the robots. And also, if they explain if they do the explanation of why did they improve the robot? Why did they start with this robot and ended with their own robots? And then they can say, oh, it's because the attachments couldn't fit on this robot here, so we needed to improve it by bringing in a attachment that can be equipped to our robot, but the robot was not fit to it, was not able to hold the attachment. For example, it couldn't hold the arm, it couldn't hold a a grabber, thus we needed to rebuild the robot and improve on it. Then the sensors also, if they have a color sensor on and they just say it's just there for the fun of it and just to show we have lights or to make some fun lights, unfortunately, that is not a good use of a sensor on a robot. So usually if they just say they have a sensor and it didn't work or they didn't do any missions or program any missions, we usually give them a simple explanation because unfortunately they didn't if they explain how they used it, then we can go to a detailed. But they need to explain and they need to show us also because in the next part is how the code made the robot act. So it brings back to if they just explain one of the missions, just give an explanation of it. They can give us marks for how of just explaining of one of the missions that they tried and how it failed and to show us how they improved from a mission that it was not working to a mission that is working, because that shows us that gives us enough evidence to give us a clear explanation of how the code made the robot act. And also, if we go through it, you will see also, like I said previously, if you picked up, there are a lot of the questions that are linked to each other. For example, how the code makes the robot act, and an explanation of the robot and the code features. Okay. And then here is the next part is iteration. It is where they show us now the evidence again. So this is now to show us how did they improve. Clear evidence of they tested their robot and they tested their code. And they did it and they saw they cannot go with this Riley robot, so they needed to improve it. They couldn't go from point A to point B effectively, so they needed to improve the code. So this evidence can be in the form of a picture that they take with a cell phone and print it, or if they don't have that kind of facilities, they just draw something. For example, one of the teams at a few of the teams at Cybono, they go and they draw their attachments or they draw the robots and show us how the attachments look and how they try to improve it. That is still a form of evidence, and that shows us how they tested it and they improved on their robot and also on the coding. If they just explain, they just take a code and they write it down. That shows us also the evidence of how the code was tested and how it was improved. And with the next one is the same again, was the improvements. So usually if they give you the evidence and for the testing and how it was improved, that it helps you to give them a clear, and it also helps your decision making because if they explain this part, you can easily mark them as a clear. But they need to give you that type of evidence, and sometimes some of the teams they do not do this part. Then the last part is the most important one of them all, the communication between the teams. So what will happen usually is some of the team members there will only be two members that are speaking at time, probably sometimes. Or if the whole team is talking, you can see who did most of the work. So if everybody explains the entire process of how they designed their robots and they give us a very detailed explanation, we can see it clear. But here's the most important one, like I just said. You can see when they are talking about the robot and expressing how their robots they improved the robot, how they built the robot, and how they programmed it. You can usually see who were the members that did all of the work and who were not involved in this part, but were involved in another part of the team. So yeah, and those are all your criterias for marking on a rubric for a robot design. And then with all of these, if you want to go and you see something that is very special, if they do good and you see, all right, the evidence that they gave us was beyond expectations. They gave you from day one to the final, to the competition date of how the robot game worked, how many points they got, how many points they got, yeah, how many points, how many seconds it took them to do a mission. It helps you. It can motivate you. You can give a motivation to say, enough evidence and above and beyond by showing all of the iterations and the explanations of why they did certain things. Then you can mark them as a full. Okay. So
Awesome.
then if there's any questions.
Thank you, Casper. Before we open the floor for, there's no hands yet, so I just want to quickly add also, I hope as you're going through this with Casper, as you're noticing how they judge, you really have your developing teams that need to have a moment to explain their work. But developing teams will most probably not have censors. Please, you as the judge are not there to tell the teams, but you should have used the, no, we need to, as Casper explained, we need to actually explain how the team built and programmed their robot. I see a hand from Moritz. Hi, Moritz. Would you like to unmute?
I'm sorry. Sorry, it's just an administrative question.
Yes.
I became aware that I should have joined this project about a week ago, and you had started it a bit earlier. So how do I officially become part of it?
Okay, so Moritz, it's no problem. It's really good to have you here with us. What I do suggest, you can send me an email and I'll send you the direct details. But there are two places. The first is on firstsa.org. You can register as a volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
And all the recordings are available on the USEC UNISA YouTube channel.
Yes, I will listen to the one from last week, of course.
Yes.
Now, I didn't quite get these email addresses. Could you maybe put them in the chat?
I will do that for you, Moritz. I will do that. No problem.
Okay. By the way, I was interested and actually also happy to hear that it seems a certain language called Python has started to show up at these competitions.
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah, interesting, because as you might remember, this is kind of my specialty.
Then Moritz, you need to talk to me because I'm a lecturer in the School of Computing for Python.
Ah, okay, good. And so we will then maybe try to have a way that I end up judging the projects that use Python.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Moritz.
Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
By the way, I forgot your name. I know your face, but
Dr. Gous, you're unfortunately muted, Dr. Gous.
Did somebody mute me? Okay, so just by way of introduction, Moritz, I'm Patricia Gous.
yes, now I remember you. Now you see, because the problem is because of COVID, we haven't seen each other for years.
Yes.
And then we don't even know our faces. That's how it is. Okay, thank you. I will get the information and I will join in 2 places, or how many are necessary. Okay, thank you.
That'll also be awesome. Thank you, Moritz. Thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes. Dr. Gous?
Yes.
Yes, if everybody is looking for last week's recording, it is on the USEC UNISA YouTube channel under FLL Volunteer Training. There's a playlist. This recording will be uploaded here in this playlist here.
Thank you so much, Casper. We've had a couple of apologies already for today's session. And they've missed last week, so they will definitely go and listen to those recordings. Thank you for that. Absolutely.
My pleasure. And all of our information is also under the About function for any of the links.
Yes.
And our email address.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions for Casper? Anybody else?
I think also the one thing that I can add is just like Dr. Gous said, when you see that teams are struggling to explain, just try and help them calm.
Yes.
For example, one of our team members, if the team members that you're judging are unfortunately a little bit soft, one of the judges usually it makes like a remote and he tries to say a little bit more volume, please, a little bit of more volume. Just a small joke like that, just to give them a little bit more energy and just to put them at ease. Sometimes just helps a lot also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's all good. It's all good. All right. Casper, can we come back to you on this, on the technical judging, the technical robot? Maybe also just to say that if they go into judge the technical, they need to take their robot along. So every team must bring their own robot. And right in the beginning, we kind of were, we in the unpacking session, we were talking about it. We've also found teams coming to the judging and then they say, yes, but their robot is running with another team. That's not okay. Every team has their own robot and every team has their own programs. And maybe just to, thanks for that, Casper, and just maybe to support that venture when they come to judging, maybe just print out or do a print screen of one of the programs so that if the laptop doesn't work, it's very, they start to fluster in it in a judging session, then maybe just by giving them a piece of paper with one of their programs that they can explain it, that does help. And as Casper was saying, they can explain it. The last thing you want your teams from a coaching perspective, when you as a judge, you need to not react so badly, but some teams will tell you as a judge, oh, but my teacher coded it or my teacher built it. And so what you actually want to say is, that's not right. You just got to stay calm. And we'll address the coaches. If you do notice that, you can just put it in your comments, but the organizers will then deal with the coaches. You as a judge, you just need to make those notes. All right. Thank you for that, Casper. Thank you. Yes, and that's in the book. There's all the details are in the book. And you as judges will do well to read up what how the coaches are coaching the teams. All right. All right. Thank you for that, for the robot technical. We'll come back to questions there. Elmary's up next. Elmary comes, I think Elmary is kind of our longest standing core values judge. Elmary, over to you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Okay. Core values. Even though if you look at a judging flow chart, we're the last step in that whole diagram. We are the most important team because the kids remember the last set of the judging session better than anything else. So you need to be the one leaving an impression. You will also notice that there's only 3 minutes allocated to core values. So we don't have the privilege or the advantage that project and robot design have of a 5-minute presentation and a 5-minute question and answer session. We only have 3 minutes for questions and answers. What this means is we will observe throughout, from the time the team walks into that room with the team welcome until they leave. Everything that they see, say, and do is being judged by you. What you will also see is the core values rubrics have changed through the years. Initially, we had the option of a few minutes to play a game to observe the team and then do the look at a presentation, judge accordingly, and ask questions. Now we don't. So how do we recover from losing all that time that we used to have? You'll see if you look at the rubrics, if you Google, you'll actually find a rubrics with a lot of detail, which is the old one, and then there's very easy to read rubrics. There's no guidelines really in this rubrics. It's just a very high level description. You would have seen it in what Casper had as well. However, in Casper's one, there was still more of a description of what you need to judge. So the points I'm going to give you are important. Have a pen and paper handy. Because you are observing throughout this half hour, you have the team in front of you, or 25 minutes. You need to be able to reflect back on everything that you've seen and heard. So make notes. You are also not only judging for core values. There's some other awards that you as core values need to watch out for. but you can align with your co-judges to watch out for these. Also ask the judge advisor initially whether these are applicable for the competition or the event that you are busy with or not. It normally depends on the amount of teams participating, whether these will become relevant or not. Then what is core values? It comes naturally with the kids. It's not something you can teach them. The moment a team walks in that is coached in core values, you can see it. They do not act naturally. So look for the natural part of what you see in front of you. A clear team identity. So the kids doesn't have to have fancy clothes on or anything. By just looking the same, doing the same things, acting the same or similar, you create a team identity. Patricia had a very good example last week with Hey That's Us, where the kids wore one sock, or one different sock on each foot. Let's rather put it that way. So they had two socks on.
Very colorful, absolutely.
It was very colorful, and you immediately knew by looking into a room which kids were from Hey That's Us. Core values is embedded in a team. So they live what is required. Look at the interaction between the team members everywhere. They are also being judged at the robot rounds. So whilst the competition is happening, they need to interact with the other team, with the referees, and any people around the table. So all of that is also being judged. So even if you as a judge decide this is the best team, they might have been rude to another team at a table, and that will reduce their score. The team have clear roles, and they can actually explain the different roles. They are sharing work. They are learning from each other. The best example we probably had of this is where they said we looked for the strengths and weaknesses in our teammates, and we learned from that. So they utilized the strengths and they learned from the weaknesses in order to support each other. And then, very important as well, they need to support each other outside of robotics. Even though they are forced into a team within the school environment, it's not just a school event or just a club event. They can go to a sports event where one of their team members participate. Someone is in a theater, go and watch. That gives them exposure to more things in any case. Being a core values judge, don't worry, I won't go through all of this. You can see it on the screen later on when you look at the video again, or ask Patricia for the slides. But you are the fun judge. You have to enjoy what the teams are telling you, and they need to enjoy your questioning of them. Be approachable, show respect, take notes, and critical. It is about the journey of the team and how they've learned and grown that are important. It is not just the end result. Core values is not, and please, this is very important. If I see it, I immediately start marking low marks. If a team walks in and says, we are a team, we are stronger working together, we respect each other, that is not what it is. To recite core values is not core values. Core values needs to be displayed, and you need to see it in the team, not hear the words from them. This is just a definition as put together by FIRST. It is not everything. They need to live these values. It is also not a designed presentation. In the past, I think 3 seasons ago, they still had to present a full poster with this is our core values and all the different aspects being shown on the poster. There's no poster anymore. If the kids come into the room with a poster of core values, that's fine, but they are not to present it. The moment they start presenting, stop. They can only present their project and their robot design. They cannot present core values. Also, quite a few kids come into the room with these extremely extravagant designed posters. Those aren't necessarily the winning teams. The team that actually wrote by hand on a poster notes of, this is my project, or our project, not my project, this is our robot, this is our journey. That team might be better in core values than a team that spent money in creating a poster for the other areas. Something a lot of the kids do, they start with detailed introductions. Hello, my name is Piet. My name is Koos. I am this, I am that. Yes, it does give you a view of who they are. There is an identity behind them, and they've got roles. But it's a time waster to go through all those introductions. Rather allow them the 5 minutes for the project, 5 minutes for the robot design, so that you can at least have 3 minutes to ask questions on everything you haven't seen or heard. Bribing the judges. A lot of teams come in with gifts. It might not be a bribe. It's also just a thank you for judging, which is fine. But don't think this is expected. It is a thank you. I have seen, especially in international judging, where it's almost an expectation, or there was an expectation created for you have to give something. It's not required, so please watch out. Core values is not a song, a dance, and an act. It's lovely to see a song and a dance, to see the whole acting of what was their project, or an act on the robot design and the journey they've taken with the robot design. But don't mark a team extremely high purely because they came in with a lot of energy and they sang, and this is it. They don't know anything about core values other than that. Then one item that that goes against all my grain is girls does core values and projects, and the boys does the programming. It's wrong. Everyone does everything. So the moment you start seeing these things, this is not core values being displayed. If you look at the rubrics itself on the top left-hand corner, it does say it is the interaction between the teams. It is the lens through which you watch the team's presentations. You record the results on the rubrics, and watch out for this last one. The robot game is part of your score. Let's just, okay, that's fine. The awards. Normally, there is a winner in core values. In most competitions, I think it's 12 and up. Mariska, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You will have a winner in each area. If your competition gets bigger, you might have a second and a third or even a fourth place. In South Africa, we normally don't go further than a third place within an area. Coach Mentor Award. There can be up to 6, but again, it depends on your tournament size. And important here, this award, that coaches and mentors are being nominated by the team members. It is not the coach, the teacher nominating themselves and the kids handing it in. We've had that. The other optional awards, your judge advisor can tell you whether it is relevant, a breakthrough, rising all-star, and motivate award. So if you decide to nominate a team for any of these, then you will typically see a team where you can see there's potential in a team, but they're not there yet. It's normally your newbies. Or it is a team that really had to overcome an extreme difficulty in order to be at the competition. Right. Then rubrics. You will see the rubrics is marked with beginning, developing, accomplished, and exceed. You would have seen it now in what Casper showed as well. Beginning means minimally observed. Developing, inconsistently observed. Accomplished, of course, consistently observed. And exceed, how has the team exceeded? So typical behavior that you will get. If someone is in beginning, they either do not display it, they don't have it, they're fighting, etc. So it's the negative side. You mark at a lower score. But the moment you start seeing aspects of what you are judging at that point in time, you will start marking it as developing, accomplished, or exceed. Developing is normally one or two of the characteristics is displayed, or of the expected outcomes are displayed. Accomplished, two or more are consistently observed. So this team is actually a very good team if they get an accomplished. Exceed. If you mark someone as exceed on a regional level, it means that they are exceptionally well, they cannot do better. The kids need to understand they can still improve. So I don't want to say don't mark them as exceed, but if you mark them as exceed, please, there's a text box where you can validate why you are saying exceed. So clearly state what was exceptional about this team. So for example now, your first category is only saying discovery, team explored new skills and ideas. Actually, what they are asking for is the team need to show you that they've learned something. They've incorporated a project, the robot, design, and core values in their lives. So if they start talking about just their project, or they talk just about a robot, they are not incorporating things. The moment they can give you examples of how their robot helped them to accomplish something, it doesn't have to resolve their project typically, but they can achieve more learning through it. And then also through the project, they've learned specific skills, meaning they are in the accomplished or exceed expectation area. So I've listed a whole list of options. Oh, that sounds wrong. I've given you a list of options that you can look at. So can I talk in front of strangers? Time management, planning, project management, interpersonal skills. They followed building instructions. They did online research. They spoke to adults. So there's a lot of things that you can actually look for in what I have been saying. So you will notice a lot of this is actually part of what will come through in your project presentation or from the robot design presentation. With innovation, similarly, team use creativity and persistence to solve problems. Again, there's options for you. Impact, inclusion. Please take your time and go through it when you have a moment. Teamwork. You will notice there's a term called co-opetition. It is not a spelling mistake for all the teachers. Co-opetition is how you work together. And a lot of kids change it to cooperate or competition. It is neither of those. It is, okay, it is working together to achieve the results. Right, the last part. First Lego League is supposed to be fun. So if they've only focused on a robot or only focused on a project, they might not have had fun. If they've done everything in a balanced way as per the guidelines, they would have had time for fun. Even in the notebooks, there is instructions for events and things that the team must try and do, or interactions to have fun. To tell us, we've gone swimming, we had ice cream, we played outside of the ball. That's not fun. That is breaking the stress within the group. Ideally, you are looking for things where the kids actually went for a fundraising exercise, had sufficient funds, and they all went to a museum. Immediately, they've done something to become self-sufficient, and they have experienced something that is fun that they could do together. At the bottom of the rubrics, you will see there's an option for great job. Think about. This is in all 3 sets of rubrics. Always give the kids a comment here. Tell them what they did well or what they could have improved on. But whatever you type or write within these blocks, be positive. The team can be the most horrific, terrible, worst team you've ever seen. And when they leave that room, you tell them how awesome they are and they must have a fantastic day and they did so well. In this rubrics, you can say, your project could have been better if you included a design, if you included some research. Consider changing the way you present to include all team members. So immediately you changed your whole tone of giving advice from a negative to a positive. Here's some guiding words that you can also use. Now, throughout the whole presentation that the kids did, you would have achieved or should have received the information to achieve your goal to complete the rubrics. However, those 3 minutes you have, you can ask them questions about what I've told you, or you can ask them specific questions that you want to understand to mark them for something they missed. Sorry, I'll come back to that one now. So I've given you 2 full pages of potential questions that you can look at, that you can ask at any point in time. Just some helpful guidelines during judging. Look for confidence and the enthusiasm of the team members. Are they giving you examples? Can they describe what they've done? Is it just one kid talking, or is everyone giving you descriptions and examples? Are they listening to each other and to the judges, or are they interrupting each other? We had one team one year where they had a boy who kept on interrupting everyone. So they started the method of handing him a shell, a conch shell. If he's got a shell, he's allowed to speak. If he doesn't have this shell, he's not allowed to speak. And that stopped him from interrupting the rest of the team. So there's lots of things like that that the kids can bring in. Are they encouraging each other to participate? You will find you have kids that will not want to talk. So start asking those kids questions. Do not put them on the spot by saying, you need to answer that. It might be that they start giving you an answer, but they're too scared. So then give them that option to actually allow their teammates to answer on their behalf or to assist them. Especially with language barriers, you might get that often, where someone will start saying something or they want to say something, but I don't know how to say it in English. In those cases, they will typically look at each other and start giving you an answer. Okay, that's me, Patricia. Questions?
That is so comprehensive, Elmarie. Thank you so much. I'm just thinking, it's such a privilege actually to talk to these learners in these teams, and don't think that every team doesn't want to talk. There are some teams that just keep talking, and you actually have to say, your time's up, you really have to go. So maybe also just, Elmarie, thank you very much for that. At Nationals, we do have an opportunity to come back to teams, then we can go and chat to them. And usually they're very excited to see their judges coming back and talking to them and telling them more stories. So there's always that opportunity to tell more. And that's the enthusiasm we're looking for, that are proud of what they've achieved in the seasons. And also to explain their research, to explain it to the judges. And that's the confidence that we need in these learners. All right. Excellent. Thank you, Elmarie. Your years of working as a core values judge has definitely come through in the sessions, but thank you so much for that. All right.
A pleasure. Moritz, I have a question.
Moritz, yes.
I wanted to ask, how many teams are we judging in the hall in 5 weeks?
Okay. So good question, Moritz. It depends on the number of teams. There's just an echo on this line. Elmarie, do you want to answer?
I'll answer yes. Moritz, it depends on your competition. You will find some of your regionals have only about 12 teams, meaning you will have 2 judging rooms. And then in other competitions, you will have up to 48 teams. So you might end up with 8 judging rooms. So the idea is that you can get to a balance between the different rooms and have similar judging. Therefore, going through the training sessions beforehand to ensure that there's similar judging in each room. It also means you will typically see between 4 and up to 12, I think was the maximum I've had in one day, teams. So you as a judge will see so many different kids and so many different teams. If you don't have notes, you will forget some of the core details. Does that answer your question?
I think also, Elmarie, just to also add that there's a deliberation time when you work together with all the teams.
Yes.
And that's when you decide on the final scores.
Mm-hmm.
Moritz, did that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other questions?
Elmarie, also, you can also add that at Nationals, we have undercover judges, especially for core values. We really want to see that the team show a general overall core values. We don't want them faking core values and then they catch us, the judges, off guard. So and also for Nationals, we have a core value, a project or activity that they need to do, and that really is unexpected, unexplained, and they get to do it. And that also, it's where the core value judges come in and participate in the process.
Correct. And undercover judges are extremely important because they don't even have to wear a judge's or a volunteer's shirt. It can be a parent walking around or someone acting as a parent walking around and just asking questions. And if the teams do not approach them, ask them to come and see their project, come and look at what I've done, immediately you get that feeling of this team doesn't have core values within them. Also, you want the teams to actually share their ideas and information. Your undercover judges also pick up little things like the team is actually not working as a team. In the room, they were a team, but outside, the boys are one side, the girls are on another side. The older kids in one area, the younger kids in another area. The coach is actually doing the programming. There's little things like that your undercover judges do pick up, and only at your deliberations will that come through. So that's information that's being shared with your judge advisor, and he or she will then take it into account when we go through deliberations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Casper?
Casper, you also want to add?
Yes, I want to add there's two more places also that the children just have to watch out. Not watch out, they just need to be mindful of the core values also. One is at the practice tables. If
Yes.
they especially don't hog the table, if you have a time, you just want to test something, you test it, you do your programming off from the table. Because also sometimes there will be a judge maybe standing there next to the table, and that can cost your team something. For example, if one of our, and also, okay, I'll come back to that one more, but the other place is also at the robot games, because this will now, it will also be discussed next week with the rubric of the robot game. The referees can actually say there, this team didn't work well. They couldn't work as a uniform team. They screamed at each other. They were confused. They didn't know what to do. Stuff like that. They can mark it actually into, give the judges also to say, okay, they did say the following things at our table in the judging room. Meanwhile, at the table, at the robot game, they're not practicing what they're preaching. So yeah, so that's my two things that I wanted to add, Dr. Gys.
Thank you very much. Absolutely. Anybody else got anything to add? Grace, I was hoping for you to put up your hand. Yes, Grace, you also come with years of experience. Please unmute and kind of add to this. Thank you, Grace.
Okay, I just want you to forgive the background noise. That is my cat trying to go outside in the rain.
We hear nothing, Grace. It's all good.
Okay, perfect. I just want to say, for me, core values are the soft skills in robotics, and it forms such a vital aspect for learners to network, to share. And it goes beyond robotics for me, because learners can apply these skills in their normal school, in their lives, with other people as well. So I always not favor, but I just feel that core values is the foundation for First Lego D, because it goes through everything, through the robot games, the presentations, and all of that. The one thing I noticed last year is that the teams that have participated before, or where the coaches were available, they come in with their core values chart, because we had done that for many, many years.
Yes.
And the newer teams, maybe they would adapt to this new type of core values. But I noticed, like the older teams, they do come in with a core values chart. And sometimes if we do have the time, just give them a minute or so to, just to listen to it.
Yes, you do, Grace. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And some teams like to have a whole poster with all their cool photographs of the season, when they started working and they're sitting at the table and they're struggling with the project. And it's great. You can have a whole poster full of photographs and you can come and share that with your judges. But it mustn't be just a recital of the core values. If they can come and show a poster and say, you've got to come to our pit area because we had so much fun, and you've got these big pictures and these big, bold and colorful pictures. A picture tells 1,000 stories of a team. Yeah, absolutely, Grace. Absolutely. All right. Grace, your hand is still up. Do you want to add?
No, thank you. Okay. I'm done.
All
Thanks.
Right. Grace, you also, like Elmarie, you have lots of stories to tell from all the different seasons, but thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Anybody got anything else to add? This has been a really busy session, a lot to think about, from being able to tell your technical story in the robot design. The teams really need to know what they want to say, but core values, if you're going to volunteer as a core values judge, you've got a lot to learn from, like Elmarie and Grace, especially in the judging of robotics teams. And we want each team to have their their best opportunity to share what they've achieved. And so through core values, that's one of the avenues. All right. Okay, if there are no further questions, I sincerely need to thank both presenters, Johannes, Casper and Elmarie, for your amazing contribution at the drop of a hat. I've just flown into Umtata. We have a regional competition here in the Eastern Cape with brand new teams. And so we're doing a celebration event. Each school is bringing at least one challenge team or one explore team. So on Saturday, we have 13 challenge teams and 13 explore teams. This is kind of the pre-runner for next year's celebration event. We hope to have 26 challenge teams and 39 explore teams. So great things happening here in the Eastern Cape. But for everybody who's joined us, thank you very much. I hope this information session has helped. If you'd like to contribute, we will put up a questionnaire for next week if you want to add anything that you need to know. All right. Moritz, your hand is up.
Don't forget to put up or send an email or whichever way about how to register, because I didn't see that in the information that you sent out previously.
Okay,
or maybe
Moritz, do you
is
have
it on the
access to
poster?
the chat area?
Yes.
Okay, so if I'm just going to type it for you quickly. If I can
The
just put
chat
my
area. Where is the chat area? Huh.
Here we go. Somebody's
No, I don't know what happened now. For the
I'm
chat
showing her
area,
where's the
No, I don't see the area where you type.
okay.
yeah, I
Moritz,
think your
it's on
chat
the
is
screen.
disabled.
Yeah, it's probably disabled.
It's on the screen, Moritz.
Well,
It's disabled,
I see
Patricia.
I see a web, but I do not see something where you can type letters. You know, I was looking for you to type, but okay, it's probably disabled. Okay.
Okay, I'll send you the link, Moritz, no problem. Okay.
Okay, you know my email address. Okay, thank you.
Yes, I will do.
Okay,
No
here we
problem.
are. Okay. Okay, just the link. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, thank you everybody for contributing. Thank you for asking questions. Thank you for chatting to us. And we will see you again then next week.
Okay, until then.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.